Grace, peace, and mercy are yours through our triune God. Amen. My name is Joanne Gallardo, and I am one of the conference ministers for Indiana-Michigan Mennonite Conference. Our offices are located in Goshen, Indiana, and I am also located in Goshen, Indiana. This week centers around Abigail, wife of Nabal. Now, Nabal had been protected by David. He kept Nabal's people safe. But when David asks for a favor, Nabal is disrespectful. Knowing that this might lead to war, Abigail collects, and I joke not, 200 loaves, 2 skins of wine, 5 sheep ready dressed, 5 measures of parched grain, 100 clusters of raisins, and 200 cakes of figs. That is a whole lot of food. She gives this to David as a peace offering after meeting with him. There is so much good stuff here to discuss. There's the topic of war and what can lead to war and what can be done to prevent war. There's the concept of reconciliation and what makes for it and how we carry it out. There's the idea that a woman, someone with a second-class status, both then and arguably now, both by herself and with God's help, stopped a conflict. What I want to focus on are the ways that we make for peace. In this instance, peace was brought about by food. Food is a basic human need. Food is also an offering. Food can be given to help someone heal. For instance, there are foods that are meant to help someone through an illness. And commonly, chicken soup is known to have a good effect on people with some illnesses, even if it's just the love and care that goes into making the soup. There are certain foods that help an upset stomach. When someone in our congregation is sick, many of us sign up to take the individual or family dishes, which result in not only feeling cared for, but result in one less thing for someone who's sick to have to worry about. When reading this passage, the movie Joyeux Noël came to mind. It's about the Christmas truce that happened in December of 1914, told through the eyes of German, English, and Scottish soldiers. On Christmas Eve, and in keeping with the spirit of Christmas, the soldiers agree to meet on no man's land to exchange chocolate, champagne, and pictures of loved ones. While a meal can't be shared on the battlefield in the same way it can be shared at a table in a home, a bond was formed that night involving something bigger than the soldiers, bigger than the war, bigger than those behind the scenes causing the conflict in the first place. Through our basic human need for connection and need for food, alliances and truces can be formed seemingly out of nowhere. If I were teaching this text, I would focus on the phrase peace offering, as it's described in your salt and light materials. When have you given a peace offering? When have you been offered a peace offering? What did you offer, and how was it received? Second, do you know what your food can do? I stated earlier how Abigail had quite the collection of food just ready to go for such an occasion. Salt and Light asks if Abigail had any clue that all that food would go to such a holy purpose. I would ask participants, what do you think? What do you think of when you prepare food? For many people from a certain descent of Anabaptism, getting together to make food, can food, freeze food, and prepare pies and cakes and other sweet treats for relief sales, church functions, weddings, and funerals, and way back in the day, barn raisings were a part of everyday life. In my cultural tradition, women getting together and making tamales in a hot kitchen all day happened before many big events, and in my memory, especially around Christmas time. Tamales are what my family ate, typically on Christmas Eve. We don't often think of what our food can do, Of course, we want it to be enjoyed, but when we prepare it, do we think about how it's going to be consumed? Maybe it's consumed when an important visit is happening, or an everyday lunch. Maybe some soup will make its way to a grieving family member, or some canned corn will go to a local food pantry for people who can't afford the necessities. Many of us try to be very conscious about where our food comes from, but for this lesson, maybe we should think of what happens when our food enters the hands, the laps, and tables of ourselves and others. Finally, to make things more personal, ask your group about conflict you may have struggled with. At any given time, any of us can have difficulty keeping things civil with friends, family, neighbors, or society at large. We're human. We hold grudges, make real or half-hearted threats, or give the silent treatment and cut off communication. In situations of serious boundary violations or abuse, our traditional rhetoric around reconciliation doesn't fit, and I'm not talking about those times. But for other conflicts, where misunderstandings have happened and insults have been spoken, we are called to offer peace to those with whom we struggle. Does anyone in your group have a story to share or a need for prayer? As you lead this week, may God be present in your fellowship, prayer, thanksgiving, and may you be able to communicate God's peace and love.